In 2022, Disney Plus had 11 of the top 15 streaming movies online. Robert Iger is really excited about it, but if you can believe it, and you may think it's impossible, I'm going to prove that it's a very bad business situation. Not all is well in the House of Mouse when it comes to streaming in their movies, but you would not know that were you paying attention solely to the statements from the company. Shocker there. We are going to have to go at record speed in order to get through all of this and explain it. I guarantee you, though, by the end of it, you're going to realize just what a mess the Walt Disney Company is in versus where they were just years ago. We're going to have to go at lightning speed once again. Before we do, click on the notification bell, click like, share, and subscribe, and keep coming back for more content like this if you like it, and I hope that you do. We're going to dive straight in right now looking at a tweet that came from Scott Gustin. This was on January 26th, and he said Encanto was the top streaming movie in 2022, and it wasn't close. That's true. Turning Red, Sing 2, Moana, and The Adam Project round out the top 5, measured by total minutes viewed by or via Nielsen. All right, so let's look at this real quick. You would probably think that this is quite impressive for Disney, and we'll talk about why it's really not at all, and it's actually bad for the company. I know, crazy, right? So we've got in the number one spot Encanto. That's Disney Plus, of course, and it's been viewed 27 billion minutes watched. Okay, that's a standout. So that's going to be in its own category. Let's just all recognize Encanto is fantastic in terms of viewership, in terms of engagement with the platform. It's a runaway hit. If you walk through the stores and you wonder why are there Encanto toys everywhere, Encanto is a massive hit, flat out. Then we've got Turning Red, and I want you to take a look at the drop-off from the number one spot to the number two spot. Again, this is 11 billion minutes watched. So good for Disney, I suppose, right? Except maybe not. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Then we've got Sing 2. That's not Disney. And the thing to know about this is that Sing 2 is essentially at the heels of Turning Red and could have beaten it. But Sing 2 is not like some sort of cultural phenomenon. It's not like kids everywhere are talking about Sing 2. It's not like this came out at the box office and did fantastic. And guess what? Turning Red never came out at the box office, but it's right there with Sing 2. You know, it's a fine little movie. Number 4 slot, look at that, Moana. Moana coming in, slight drop-off, but still 8 billion minutes. If you wonder in the future why there's going to be a Moana sequel, that's exactly why. If you wonder why Disney is pushing Moana and not Frozen and not Tangled, well, that's why. Moana is an incredible, gargantuan hit for Disney. Even now, I believe it had a 2017 release. It could have been 2016, but I think 2017, if my memory serves correct. It's still the third biggest movie on Disney Plus, and it's not very far behind number 2 at all, and number 2 came out this year. Then you've got number 5, The Adam Project, and then 6, Hocus Pocus 2. There's a steep drop-off. Now, you would look at that and you would say, well, look how many of these Disney properties are up in that top 15. Fantastic. Disney Plus must be doing just incredible. It must be this great streaming platform success. Oh, wait. So much is riding on this, and they just got rid of their CEO, and they just replaced their chair of the board. Why would that be if everything's peachy keen? But let's look. And we've got Robert Iger, CEO of the Walt Disney Company. I'm betting that he doesn't follow Scott Gustin necessarily. I'm betting that he doesn't have a whole lot of time to follow on Twitter. So I'm guessing that somebody was waiting for this to be reported from a major source, and Scott has 50,000 followers, so that'll count. And I'm betting somebody relayed this to Robert Iger. And he said 10 of 15 from Disney. That's not bad. Okay. Let's get into why that's not true. Although let me say that if I were Iger, that's what I would be saying as well. So I'm fully on board with why he would say it. I'm fully on board with the fact that to almost every person out there, they would look at this and be impressed. But by the end of this, I think you're going to see why this is just not the case. and why it's not that impressive. Let's move over and dig a little deeper, right? I think that's a song from some movie that's moving into a new spot at Walt Disney World. Not sure if the song will be there, but let's dig a little deeper. And if we go back to 2021, what do we see when we go to the top 15 streaming movies? Again, we see Disney Plus dominating in terms of the slots, but pay very close attention. We don't have the Encanto effect, right? So that Encanto, there's no doubt about it. It's a massive runaway success. It's huge. But if we look at the top movies from 2021 for Disney Plus, there's something very interesting about it. And here's what's interesting. If we compare the 2021 subscriber base for Disney Plus to the 2022 subscriber base, and by that I mean the total number of subscribers worldwide to Disney Plus, what you'll see is that 2021 had 71.9% of the total subscribers for Disney Plus in 2022. Let me say it one more time. 2021 had 71.9, so basically 72% of the subscribers that Disney Plus had in 2022. However, take a look. Let's take out the first place, remember, because Encanto is crazy. So it's not a fair comparison at all to compare Encanto and Luca. Go to the second place. All right. Moana, second place last year, third place this year. But second place versus second place. If we look at the numbers of minutes watched for Moana, guess what? It turns out that Moana in 2021 had 77.8% of the watch time as Turning Red in 2022. Now, why does that matter? You've got 71% of the subscribers in 2021, but second place movie, you've got 77% in 2021 of the watch time. It gets more interesting. Hang with me now. Hang with me. If we go to fifth place, the fifth place movie for 2021, 90% of the watch time of the 2022 fifth place movie, despite the fact that Disney grew enough that they only had, right, 71% of subscribers in 2021 versus the 100% they had at the end of 2022. Yet 90% viewership for fifth place. And if you look at these, what you'll find is that they're all pretty well clustered together, right? Look at Red Notice by Netflix, 55, Frozen, 54, Soul, 52, Cruella, 51. All right. Now, what does that mean? That means that there is a widening disparity between the subscriber base that Disney has and the participation in the top movies of the platform. In other words, the percentage of people subscribed to Disney Plus watching the top content is significantly lower in 2022 than it was in 2021. Okay? We can all see this in the growth chart here. Number of Disney Plus subscribers worldwide, first quarter 2020 to fourth quarter 22. Okay? So look at this. If in the fourth quarter of 2021, you are at 118 million subscribers, and if in the fourth quarter of 2022, you're at 164, and yet your fifth place, sixth place, seventh place, eighth place movies are very, very similar in terms of watch time, then although you're gaining subscribers, and not at the rate that they want, by the way, not at all, but despite the fact that you're gaining subscribers, you're not gaining participation. That's a huge problem for Disney. It's a huge problem because if they're going into advertising, which they are, then if you have subscribers who are not watching, then you will not make ad money. Also, if you have subscribers who are not watching, i.e., you have lower participation rates, that means that those subscribers are less likely to stay with your streaming platform when they're ready to hop off, when there's another offer, when there's another thing. That's not all. The top animated movie in 2022 at the box office was Minions, not a Disney property. Oh no, and not even close. Where is Minions available? Rise of Gru, where is that available at? It's available on Peacock. It's available on iTunes. It's available on Prime Video, Vudu, Google Play, Microsoft, and more. Where are all of the Disney Plus movies available? Disney Plus and Disney Plus alone. Now, why does that matter? It matters because if you are other companies with animated movies, then you still have secondary and tertiary markets that are bringing money into you. So, for example, if you put out Minions Rise of Gru and it does fantastic at the box office, like we said, #1 animated movie in 2022 in terms of the box office, then not only did you do fantastic at the box office, but then it goes to PVOD and it goes to these other streaming platforms that continue to sell or have contracts with Universal so that Minions continues to make money. Guess what happens when, let's say, Lightyear goes to Disney Plus? It makes no money. Guess what happens when Turning Red is turned away from the box office because they're worried that it's going to alienate fans, alienate consumers, alienate families? Guess what happens when it goes straight to Disney Plus without a theatrical release? It makes no money. And so then the only thing that you can use to justify it is to say, well, maybe these movies are driving new Disney Plus subscriptions. But that's not true either. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Take a look here. We've got on nexttv.com, NBCU's Peacock cracks 1% share of viewing in December by Nielsen. You need to understand how the percentages work for viewership right now. As you can see, we've got cable at 30.9. You've got broadcast at 24.7. Streaming makes up only still 38.1% of the total viewership that people do on their screens. 38.1%. And that is divided up in such a way that if you break it down, Disney Plus across all households is only on 1.9% of the time. 1.9. Hulu 3.4. YouTube running away with it in terms of these other streamers, and Netflix. Look how much bigger Netflix is than Disney. In terms of viewership time, 7.5% versus 1.9%. Okay. Disney gave away their entire Blu-ray, DVD, everything, home entertainment sales. They gave it away. It was massive. They gave away all of that for Disney Plus. And Disney Plus loses billions of dollars, and it's anticipated to lose another $1 billion in the next earnings report for 2% of screen time on TVs all over the place. 2%. Okay. Let's check and see just how bad this is. Disney in 2021, entertainment revenue fell 44%. Home entertainment includes revenue from the sale and licensing of movies and TV shows on DVD, Blu-ray, disc, and all digital retail formats. By the way, this is from MediaPlayNews.com. Eric Grundwettel. The decrease in home entertainment revenue was due to decreases of 36% from lower unit sales and 5% from lower average net effective pricing. It goes on to talk about all of the negatives for Disney. Take a look at this. The unit reported a 33% drop in revenue to $7.34 billion from revenue of $10.97 billion in the fiscal year 2020. Operating income plummeted 51% to $537 million from operating income of $1.15 billion a year earlier. All right. That was 2021. Did you know it continued to fall into 2022? And it's clear why it would be falling. It's falling because who is going to buy a Disney Blu-ray or DVD when you can watch all of it on Disney Plus for that low subscription cost? In essence, when you see all of those movies on Disney Plus sitting in the top, whatever the numbers are, right? The top 15 movies watched in 2022, Disney's not making money off those. Simultaneously, guess what else? It turns out that kids watch movies in a different way than adults. I know that's shocking. You might wonder, well, why do kids like to watch movies over and over and over? Well, it's because for kids, they're not used to the world in the same way that adults are. And so when they watch a movie the fifth time, they're still seeing new things. Because with adults, you know how that movies have beginnings and middles and ends. You know that in movies, that there are certain plot devices. You understand all the different ways that characters interact, and you can sort of predict that with the model that you already have in your mind for how stories work. Kids don't have any of that. And so they're constantly watching movies over and over and over because it's an all new experience. And then as they watch more and more, they absorb more, right? You might watch a movie a second time and catch a few new things, and be like, oh, I missed that the first time. But kids, like, it's a whole brand new world. So they're catching like 30% on the first watch. They're catching 50% on the second watch because they're learning and learning and learning. And so kids on Disney Plus, they're driving those numbers up, right? So if you ever wonder, well, why are kid movies at the very top? Why are kid movies the most watched? Well, that's why, because kids sit there and watch them over and over and over. Kids are watching Encanto over and over and over. Whereas you watch your favorite movie as an adult, you watch it twice and you're good. Maybe thrice if it's like this amazing movie. No. Kids are watching Encanto to go to sleep every single night. Kids are watching Turning Red over and over and over. Kids are watching Moana and have been watching Moana for years and years, over and over. Okay, so when you look at those numbers, not only did Disney get rid of all of their secondary and tertiary revenue sources after a movie exits the box office, but also the idea that those movies are driving Disney Plus subscriptions versus adult movies is just silly because it's based on the false notion that minutes watched demonstrates success. That's not true, though, because kids watch movies at a vastly higher number, thus falsely inflating the enthusiasm for those movies if you just look at the minutes watched. I hope I'm making that clear. Let's move to this next point. Finally, if we're looking for which movies actually are driving the enthusiasm when we're talking about animated, look at this. This from Cartoon Brew, and it's by Jamie Lang. Top three, NBC Universal to take the top three animation box office spots from 2022 as Puss in Boots continues to put up big numbers. Top three. Disney's not up there. After a worldwide take of 39 million over the weekend, an estimated 13.1 in North America and 25.9 abroad, talking about millions. DreamWorks, Puss in Boots is within a whisker of the 200 million mark. A nice pun. Having grossed 197.5 million since releasing in most territories in late December. The film now only needs another 10 million to pass Warner's DC League of Super Pets. It will. And another 30 million to pass Pixar's Lightyear. It'll do that too. Remember, Lightyear only got 226. Guess what? Lightyear had just a production budget of around $250 million. So even before you take into account marketing, Lightyear is a bomb. Puss in Boots had an estimated production budget of about $85 million. Turns out Puss in Boots is probably already in the profitability category, and Puss in Boots will then go into new revenue streams to make more money. Lightyear didn't, it won't, it's over. Except for the few people who may have bought it on Blu-ray and DVD, and I mean few. It went straight to Disney Plus, and that's it. It's not making any money. Universal's other animated top grossers of 2022 are Illumination's Minions: The Rise of Gru at nearly $1 billion, and DreamWorks' The Bad Guys at $250 million. And that means that Universal will have the top three box office movies animated for 2022. When's the last time that Disney had that happen? The last time one studio occupied the top three animation spots at the global box office in 1 year was 2019 for Disney. But here's my question for you. When's the last time that Disney wasn't even in the top three? I bet that you'll have to go way, way back. And I bet one of you can find that and post that in the comments. But to summarize all of that, ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is, at the beginning, when you look at these numbers here, Other than Encanto, I'm fully on board. Encanto's fantastic in terms of success. And Moana, it has been. But out of those two, and I'm saying that Moana, I'm giving it credit because it's many, many years old now versus Turning Red, which should be bigger than it is. It wasn't even on the box office. That should have driven tons of people to go watch it. Yet it's barely beating out Sing 2 and Moana. So other than those, everything below this looks like red light for Disney. You wouldn't know that unless you watched this video and had all of this explained at the level that we have. This is more analytical and more in-depth than I normally do, and I usually go in-depth. I'm in the weeds, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was enlightening. And I don't blame Robert Iger for saying what he did. I would too. It's the right message out of Disney. But if you're a business person and you're looking to see how Disney is doing with their animated movies, everything below Moana, and including number 2. So everything except number 1 and number 4 has me very concerned about this company. It has me concerned about the audience participation in the children's movies that are being put out, since there's not tremendous growth from 21 to 22, despite subscriber growth being there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, click like, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. I'm talking about the notification bell. Keep learning, keep growing, and whatever you do, keep having fun.